Hello and welcome to Lynchburg Live. I'm your host, Linda Smith. Ever since Matthew Webb made the first successful swim across the English Channel in August of 1875, swimmers have been challenged to repeat that success. This summer, local swimmer Sarah Dunstan met that challenge and attempted a channel swim. Sarah is my guest tonight, and she's going to be telling us about the experience. Sarah, welcome to Lynchburg Live.
Well, thank you, Linda. It's so nice to be here.
You know, as we begin, do you mind just telling our audience a little bit about you?
Yes, I grew up in Richmond, and I have 3 adult children. I went to UVA and was a nurse there, and met my husband, Jim, who is an orthopedic surgeon here, and that's what brought us to Lynchburg. So we've been here about 30 years, and I did grow up swimming in Richmond and took about 30 years off from swimming, but made sure my kids were all swimmers, and they all did local swim team. And I think it's always a good thing for everyone to know how to swim.
Oh, yeah, I think so, too. Now, have you been an athlete all your life?
Yes, I think off and on. I've always kept membership at a Y or a gym. I've always done some type of class, whatever was the going thing, aerobics or body pump or something. And so, yeah, I would say I have tried to keep active all my life.
And how long have you been a swimmer?
As I say, I grew up swimming in Richmond and did local swim team, but took many years off, probably 30 years off. I actually only started swimming again about 3 years ago.
How about being a competitive swimmer?
I did that growing up, and then I joined the master swim team about 3 years ago. Wonderful local swimmers, and after that I started doing triathlons, and I did about a dozen triathlons one summer and swam all over Virginia in lakes and rivers, and that's where my love of open water swimming really developed.
Now, you did a triathlon earlier this year, is that correct? Or sometime before you attempted the channel swim?
Yeah, I did several long swims before I attempted the channel. I did a 10-mile swim out in Minneapolis last summer. I have done the Chesapeake Bay swim twice. That's about 4.5 miles. I did the first one, I just did a mile swim, and then I did the second one, I did a 4.5 mile swim. That was in June. Just all in preparation, just trying to increase my distance and time in the water, just to get ready for this big one.
What motivated you to want to attempt the English Channel?
I just think it's a legend. It's just a legend, and it's just an iconic swim. There's just no other swim that can come close to it in terms of just legend and challenge, definitely a challenge. My niece, who's a good swimmer, had mentioned something about her desire to do it about 4 years ago, and she was the first person I contacted when I decided to do it. I thought maybe we could do a relay. I really had a relay in mind. I didn't really think that I could do this myself, but having contacted all the best swimmers in town and sort of met with incredulity, I decided I'd have to try it on my own.
I mean, I just think that's...
I was just going to do it on my own. So.
I think it's the coolest thing in the world. So when did this idea actually pop into your head?
About 1.5 years ago is when I really seriously started to make plans, and started with getting the boat pilot, joining the Channel Swimming Association. There are a lot of hoops to go through, a lot of expenses, a lot of fees and so forth to get there. I also started acclimating to cold water, and I did this primarily in Ivy Lake and swimming all through the winter. I had a wonderful training partner, probably the only other person in Lynchburg who wanted to swim in 50-degree water with me.
I was going to ask you what were the lowest water temperatures you trained in here?
The lowest was in the low 40s, but that was just for 5, maybe 10 minutes. I did a half-hour swim in 48-degree water, and I really felt fine. But I knew that the shivering would start when I got out, so that's something you know is going to happen. You do shiver to warm up. But mostly you train to swim in anywhere over 50 degrees. So yeah.
What's the temperature of the channel water, average temperature?
During the swimming season,
right,
which is from June through October, it's anywhere from 56 maybe to 62. My swim, it was right around 58 to 60 degrees. Got a little chillier the farther I got towards the middle, and it was deeper. Yeah.
You know, to me that just sounds cold.
It took a while to get acclimated. Cold showers, sitting in cold ice baths.
I can't imagine.
That was not something I enjoyed. I'd rather be moving if I'm going to be in cold water. But yeah, it took months to do this, but I think my body is well suited to to cold water swimming, and I really quite enjoy it now.
So the closer you actually got to the attempt, did you beef up your swimming in cold water? Excuse me.
Well, that was the problem. The water wasn't cold here, so I actually went to Dover, having not swam in cold water for about 6 weeks. I did have to do a 6-hour qualifying swim in 60-degree water or less, and I went to Mallorca, Spain in April to do that. It was a channel swimming camp with the best channel swimmers, legends in channel swimming, and I met people from, they were mostly from the UK, Wales, Ireland, Scotland, England. It was 14 of us, and it was wonderful to meet them, and we all shivered together. And there's nothing like hypothermia to bring you closer together. And I say I swim in cold water. It's not that I'm not cold. I think it's just you develop a tolerance for it.
Right.
But yeah, you do get cold.
I heard you just now say that you had to kind of jump through some hoops to do this.
Yeah.
What are the legalities? What kind of permissions do you have to get to do something like this? And from which side of the channel? Or
we're basically operating from England. France no longer allows channel swims to originate in France. Well, I just had to join an association. There are 2 associations that are sanctioned. I joined one, the Channel Swimming Association. There's also the Channel Swimming and Piloting Federation. So they're the 2 associations of which you have to be a member. There's a fee for that. Then you have to acquire a pilot. And the wait period is usually 2 to 3 years out.
Oh, my goodness.
Channel swimming has become very popular, and there are only a dozen pilots, maybe 15 total for the 2 associations. So, and each pilot will take several swimmers per tide. And per tide, by that I mean 2 weeks a month is what they call a neap tide, and this is when the tides and currents are least. It's during the half moon, and that's the time when you typically will do your swim. And I was given a certain period of time, a week's time, in which I was the number 1 slot to be the swimmer, and I actually waited till the last day of that tide. I was very blessed, and I had beautiful weather that day.
That's great.
Beautiful weather.
That's great.
It couldn't have been better.
Now, you told me that you were 59 years old.
That's correct, yeah.
You certainly don't look it, but I imagine that you are in excellent physical condition. So how much does age have to do with this?
I think it really does affect your stamina in the long run, and the challenging conditions. The water's very cold. Just the current and the tides. It takes a great deal of strength to kind of power through that. The training. I actually have been suffering with a sore shoulder for most of the summer, and still am, as a matter of fact. And I think the older you are, the less your body recovers quickly, and that sort of thing. And the training, it requires hours and hours and hours of swimming. And unfortunately, my shoulders did present a problem. And towards the last few months before my swim, I should have been doing long swims back to back, like 7 hours on Saturday and 7 hours on Sunday. I never did that because I was so afraid that I wouldn't have a shoulder left come time for the big swim. So the whole summer was just a balancing act of keeping fit but not really damaging my shoulder, so that when the time came, I wasn't able to do the big swim.
Well, I certainly admire you for what you've done.
Well, thank you.
When is the best time to do this, to attempt this swim?
Well, the channel season is, as I say, from June through October. It goes through October. The advantage to that is that the water's still a bit warmer than it would have been in June, but the days are shorter, so you're going to be swimming longer at night. The average channel swim is anywhere from 15, 18 hours, so you're just going to swim longer at night. I was prepared to swim at night. I had practiced swimming at night, and I quite like it.
What was the date of your attempt?
I swam on August 1st, and that was a Thursday, and I came home on Sunday. So it really was, Friday actually was the last day of my tide, but I was swimming into bad weather. The bad weather came, and no other swimmers went out until the following Tuesday. So I was very lucky. I had a beautiful day, as you can see.
These pictures behind us are a video of Sarah's swim, and I think it's really interesting that she did this. Now, the water, the weather, the tide conditions, all can make a difference.
Yeah, and the weather is the major factor in whether you swim or whether you don't, or whether your swim is successful or not. I have had several friends that started a swim, and the weather can change so quickly, and they would have to stop the swim because of just high winds and high seas, and it's just not safe to swim. So the pilot has the final say as to stopping the swim if it's necessary.
Are there any dangerous sea life, sea creatures that you had to contend with?
Jellyfish really are the only thing that were affecting me and most swimmers. We all encounter jellyfish. I have scars from jellyfish stings from Mallorca. But we expect that, and it really was not as bad as it could have been. Not like the jellyfish that Diana and I had encountered in Florida. The jellyfish in the channel aren't that, their sting is not that bad. But I got hit several times.
After seeing her and photos of her going through her previous swims and the jellyfish stings, it just looked so awful.
Yeah,
that
salt water is very hard on your skin, and when you're immersed in it for hours and hours, it changes your appearance.
Now, what is the actual distance between that you swim?
It's 21 miles.
21 miles.
And the typical swimmer will typically swim probably 30 miles because they go in an S curve with the tide. I was fortunate that my course was very straight. I think that the currents weren't as swift that day, and I had that advantage. So I swam 14 miles. I swam about 8.5 hours, and I made it 14 miles, which was about 2/3 the way across. I made it into the French shipping lane there. The channel is dividing into English waters and English shipping lane, and then a separation zone where no traffic, and then French shipping lane, and then French waters. And I made it into the French waters, so I could see France. I could see it, but it just wasn't getting any closer. It didn't appear to be getting any closer, and the mental aspect of a long challenge like that is almost or more than the physical part.
All right, now you said that the people on the French side are not really receptive to
this.
I
think they would like to see an end to channel swimming. They think it's very dangerous. The English Channel is the busiest shipping lane in the world, and there have been several deaths, and they tend to occur in French waters, which is not, they don't like that. And I lost a friend there this summer, as a matter of fact, about a week before I swam.
That's the 34-year-old that
yes,
we heard about.
Susan Taylor, and she was a beautiful young woman. I met her in Mallorca. She was a very strong swimmer. She was swimming to raise money for her charities, and we were all shattered. I heard about this while I was on the boat crewing for another friend of mine who was swimming, and the combination, it was just a very emotional day.
But she did have some physical challenges or some medical problems.
We had been told that she had not passed a physical. That's the other thing. You mentioned what do you need to do to prepare. You do have to have a physical signed by your physician, and that 6-hour qualifying swim. So it's not like you can just say, I'm going to do this, and there are some qualifications.
Phil, can we show the still pictures that Sarah brought and let her tell us what they are? All right, tell us about this picture that you brought.
All right, this is a shot of the English Channel and the White Cliffs of Dover. This was actually right across the street from the bungalow, I'll say, where I stayed for 2 weeks, right on the cliffs of Dover, and I could look out from my bedroom and see France on a clear day. And I would sit there and just look out across the English Channel, and
it's really beautiful.
About it.
That's just beautiful.
It was really, really beautiful. We had really beautiful weather while we were there. We were very lucky about that. This is on my way to my departure point. On the left is Sue Croft. I was a crew member for her on her swim, and on the right, and the red jacket is Sean Williams. She lives in Wales. Sue lives in London, and they both came down to be a crew for me, and my sister was also on the boat with us. I met both of these gals in Mallorca.
I think it's interesting. They have on jackets and sweaters, and you're standing there.
Exactly. It was chilly. It was chilly. And then the opposite, when I get out of the water, I'm all bundled up, and they'll look like it's summertime. But yeah, this is about 5 o'clock in the morning. Shows a feed technique. I was fed a liquid, mostly sugar, in a bottle that had a loop around it, and it was tethered to a reel, so it would be thrown out to me, and I could swim to it and gulp and go. Feedings were supposed to be very quick. You don't want to add time to your swim, and if you stop moving, you do get cold.
Oh.
So, yeah, as long as I'm swimming, I was fine and generating heat, but you don't want to stay still too long.
Are there any penalties if you stop swimming to eat? Or
no penalties for that. You just can't touch anyone or they can't touch the boat or any person. That will end the swim. This is just one of the many ships that we encountered on the way. It was really just fascinating to see these huge ships go by.
And you're swimming.
Yes.
You're swimming all the time, and these are going past you.
Yes, yeah. But the boats are always in communication, and they do try to avoid the swimmers, obviously. But the wake of the boat it lasts a long time, like a roller coaster.
Now, who goes with you on these trips? I mean, in the boat.
In the boat, you'd like to have experienced crew, which I was very grateful that I did. I had 2 channel swimmers, and they trained with me in Mallorca, and they knew what I needed. They know the mentality of it. And my sister was there just for support, and she took the pictures, and she was great. This is just a great picture to show the beauty of the channel and how fortunate I was to have weather this way for most of the swim. It got choppier as I went along, but that was just a beautiful
gorgeous
swim. Really, just lovely. This was my boat, very, very modest boat, and there was no shelter if it were raining or the weather turned bad. But thank goodness we had a day like a cruise. It was like being on a cruise. My crew had very good weather. I was happy for that. You worry about your crew having seasickness.
I hadn't thought about something like that.
Yes, that can plague the swimmers and the crew. This is a picture of Jim and me, as I say, right across from where we stayed. The shirt that I have on there, my son made these shirts for me, and it had the logo of my Channel Swimming Association and the date of my swim. It was a complete surprise. And he made about a dozen of these shirts and sent them to me in a box before I left to England, and just passed them out to everyone.
That's just so
all my
cool.
family and crew and everything. So it was very sweet. This is probably my favorite photo because it just shows this is what it was all about. It was a beautiful day. I was swimming along with whatever is out there and just having a really good time. I just enjoyed every bit of it.
At least it was not a lonely swim.
No.
How many hours did you swim?
About 8.5 hours is what I was told.
That's a long time under those circumstances. And what was your reason for stopping?
Well, I think I was just tired, but I think mentally I had some monkeys on my shoulders that were telling me to stop, and I think that's what you have to fight. And I think when the going got tough, I just didn't have what it took to push through. I think I had the thought of a friend having passed away, my age. My family were very supportive when they found out that a friend of mine had passed away. At first I thought maybe they would not approve, but they were totally supportive, and I just wanted to be able to end my swim with a smile, and I did.
No, I don't. I can't imagine pushing yourself to the point that it's
grim,
life-threatening, or grim, or whatever.
Yeah. And I didn't want to do that. And although I'll have to say, at the end of the swim, I was very happy, very pleased that I had gotten as far as I had gotten. But upon reflection, the disappointment has sort of crept in. that I could have gone farther. I may have been able to make it all the way. I was second-guessing myself.
I can understand the disappointment, but when I asked you to be on this show, it wasn't so much wanting you to be on here as someone who's actually done it. I thought that the thing that was so cool was that you tried to do it.
Well,
I mean, I don't know anybody else who's tried to swim the English Channel, and I just admire you so much for getting out there and doing that and having the dedication and then coming out of it feeling pleased that you've done it. I think that's exceptional.
Well, thank you. That's very nice of you. I still have those doubts, but it is nice to. It's very, very nice of you to say.
You said that swimming the English Channel was on your bucket list. Is this still on your bucket list? Do you think you'll make another attempt?
I don't know that I'll be able to do another solo attempt. I loved swimming in the English Channel. I loved everything about the channel life. The swimmers that I met, amazing people. I loved swimming in the waters of the English Channel. I just liked the temperature and the thrill of it all, and I do hope to go back. Relays are always a possibility. There are people in their 60s that have had successful channel swims. So I don't know. Right now I'm nursing a sore shoulder, so it's hard to imagine going back to those long swims, but I won't rule it out.
You know, I think that's great. I just think it's wonderful to set a goal like that and to move forward toward it.
Yeah.
Now, if someone came to you and wanted advice about doing this, what would you tell them?
Well, that would be the first thing I say. Come talk to me, and I can tell you all about it. But you need to join one of the channel swimming associations, and you'll find all the information that you need right there on the website. And then just be prepared to swim a lot, and most of all, be acclimated to cold water. I think that's what separates this swim from most any other swim, is the cold water, and the fact that to have it authorized, there's no use of wetsuits, of course. I mean, I think that's that's something we didn't actually touch on, but of course, if that's what you wanted to do, you can do that. But to have an official swim, it's cap, goggles, and bathing suit, and that's it. No wetsuits.
Yeah, I had just written down a note to myself because I did skip that question, and I wanted to ask you about that. But do you have to put Vaseline or grease yourself? Or
we did. I was greased on chafe areas behind my neck and under my straps of my suit, but not for warmth.
That's not for
just
warmth.
for chafing, and it was a combination of Vaseline and lanolin that we mixed. It's sort of a channel brew, and it's just applied right before you get in the water. Yeah.
That's just, you see people doing the grease thing and going out to do these swims. And
yeah, I think in the olden days they greased up with pure lanolin, and it smelled bad, and it was heavy, and it was cold, and it sort of clumped up and actually weighed you down. So now it's more just a little light application where you might rub.
Now I'm going to ask you a really strange question
okay.
that just came into my mind. Men who attempt this, you see competitive swimmers and distance swimmers who shave everything. Mm-hmm. Do they do that?
Total body shaving, not necessarily. The main thing is their beard, and men will grow a beard during the course of a swim, and it's very common for men to have chafe rubs on their shoulders from their cheeks and their beard growing. If you go into 12 hours or more, you're growing a beard. So that's the main thing for the men.
There's so many things that I never would have thought of with this, and that is one of them. Yeah. So, Sarah, what is the number one thing that stands out in your mind about your attempt? What has this meant to you personally?
Well, it was just something that grasped my attention and my interest right away, and I just was so blessed that I was able to go through the motions and be able to get there and to be able to swim on a beautiful day. So many people go over there. I have a friend right now who's waded through 2 tides over a 2-month period, traveling from South Africa, and come twice and go home not to be able to swim because of the weather. So I was very blessed with that, and the people, the friendships I've made, and the people that I have come to know, and they're just wonderful people. I'm glad to be a part of that group.
There's so much more to this in working with you and learning about this. There's so much more to this than just getting in a boat, getting in the water, and making a swim.
Yeah.
I mean, really, there is.
But at the bottom line, that's what it is, and I love just swimming in the open water, and I'd love to be able to have an opportunity to do it again. But there's a lot of prep work to get there.
Do you have a website or anything where people, might want to go and find out about you and what you're doing?
No, I don't. I've been encouraged to do a blog, but I I have not.
That would be kind of cool to do that.
Yeah, it'll probably happen.
Do you know of any kids or anything in Lynchburg who are swimmers?
Well, I'm a member of the Iron Gate Triathlon Club, and we swim at Ivy Lake, and very involved in that. And there are some people, I have been told, that would be interested in speaking with me about this, and I would encourage anyone that had any inkling of swimming in the channel. I would just love to be helpful and be a part of guiding them through.
What's coming up for you? What are your next challenges?
Well, my shoulders are out for a while, but my legs are still working, so I'm going to be actually running the Richmond Half Marathon. I do that. I grew up in Richmond, so that's in November. I am supposed to be swimming a 5-mile swim in the James River in October, and I do hope I'll be able to do that.
And
I did it last
October,
year.
You said?
Yes, it's really just in a few weeks, so I'm just hoping that I'll be able to do that. I am scheduled to do that. So.
Is that part of a swim, or is it just you doing your thing?
No, it's a race. It's there's a 2-mile race and a 5-mile race. It's called To the Bridge and Back, and it's from the a part in Richmond, the American Legion building, up to the 288 Bridge and back. And I did it last year, and I'm so hoping to be able to do it again this year.
That's great.
Yeah.
I hope you'll consider coming back and letting us know what you're doing, because I just
I'd be
think
delighted to. Thank you.
It's exceptional to have someone right here in Lynchburg who does so many wonderful things. And
well, thank you. The people of Lynchburg have been so responsive and so supportive. I really, really appreciate all the support I've gotten from strangers, really, everyone.
Well, Sarah, I thank you so much.
Oh, thank you so much for having me.
It's been a joy to have you.
Thank you so much.
And I loved having the video going behind us.
Well, thank you.
Sort of made us look like we were sitting in the middle of the ocean.
I know. Oh, gosh, I wish I were there.
Thank you,
Linda.
I hope you've enjoyed tonight's show and meeting Sarah Dunstan, who is a truly amazing woman. October is Breast Cancer Awareness Month, and my next show will explore genetic and genomic options for women who are faced with breast cancer. Thank you for watching. Have a wonderful evening. Good night.